Alright, hello everyone, and welcome to my 500 subs thing slash greater player reward kind of tier bonus, whatever you want to call it. But today is going to be a pretty interesting day. It's going to be story time with Demise. So I'm going to be talking mostly about my experiences and how they led me to get to the channel. Because I don't know, I haven't really told the story much. I guess the first video I ever did, I kind of talked a little bit about it and how things developed over time, but I never really got to, I guess, talk about it in depth. I guess so. You got a question? What kind of things did Demise have to do to get to the place that he is now? So um, obviously there would be no story without a beginning, right? So in the beginning, Demise was born, and it was shit for a couple of years because he couldn't talk, and then it was alright, and then he started playing games, and that was pretty good. In all seriousness, though, um, there's there's quite a lot to say about how my early game developed, I guess, to provide me, I suppose, with the I don't know, like it gave me the basis for really wanting to try crawl, I suppose, but it's kind of just more basic stuff. So when I grew up, as I was growing up, I used to play a lot of games, a ton of games. I listed three here that I think really did show my most important ones, I suppose. So in the top left-hand corner is Dungeons and Dragons. I'm one of those guys that knows all the rules to D&D, but never actually plays. As a young child, I was left with the inheritance of I think 26 Dungeons and Dragons rulebooks, second edition, I believe. I still have them in my room right now. And yeah, as a before I could even read, I was reading those books. Like there's this thing called the monstrous no, it's the Monsters Compendium, I think. I don't know. It's not Insight, but yeah, I was like looking at those pictures before I even started, so I knew what a beholder was. I knew basically what a shining eye was. I knew what a hydra was. By like the age of 2 or 3, it was pretty ridiculous. Um, but yeah, as I grew older and I was able to read more, I developed an intense enjoyment of reading through Dungeons and Dragons. I never actually connected it with the game itself, with playing the game. I read it more as like a way of building a world and building an environment, and it was really interesting back in the day. I still do want to play D&D, but honestly, there's not enough time for it. And I think with games like Crawl and other stuff, it's honestly easier to replicate the thing in the game rather than use your imagination. Especially what helps if you don't have friends like me. Feels bad. So yeah, in the bottom left hand corner, we have Diablo 2. This probably formed the pinnacle, I suppose, of my early life. What do you call it? It kind of developed me and honed me in for that roguelike experience. Like one of my earlier memories was actually my dad playing with a bunch of friends at a LAN, playing Diablo 2. I was really young at the time. I think I couldn't speak, or I could only just barely speak, but I still very distinctly remember watching the Amazoness and Druid and Paladin rip through the screen. It was ridiculous. It was awesome. I saw those really old vacuumy kind of monitors. It was crazy. It's good times. But yeah, like Diablo 2 really did, I suppose, form what would eventually become the roguelikes thing. I noticed that I used to play the early game like pretty much 100 times over with different builds and styles and things. Just because I wanted to explore, and I really enjoyed the fact that it had randomness to it, because it made it more interesting. And that was really reflected in my like maybe tens and twelves in the bottom right hand corner game, Titan Quest. So Titan Quest was a popular smash hit by THQ, which I think has now gone under at some point. But the guys who made this game are like bankrupt now, but so we'll never see another one. But it was basically a Diablo 2 ripoff, but set in the Roman times, and it had random Chinese parts, and it was really weird. Like there was a whole Oriental act, and like it was really sick. I remember back when I was playing this game, it was so much fun. Like I don't know, going through that early part over and over again seemed like the most fun thing in the world to me because I didn't care that much for the story. I cared mostly for like that feeling of, I suppose, discovery and learning new skills and doing all that stuff. And the exponential like level growth thing never really appealed to me that much because every time I would level up, it would be harder to level up to the next skill and learn something cool. Obviously, I was a kid back then. I didn't really understand how things worked, but it's still kind of interesting to see how I approached the game. A couple of games that I didn't list here would be like I don't know something like Street Fighter 2. I think it was Turbo 2, which I played with my cousin on the either the Nintendo or the PS1 possible or the NES. One of the two, like one of the three, like one of the machines. It was very very long time ago, but yeah, that kind of drove me to be a little bit more competitive. So from an early age, I was indicted with the games of the era, I guess, the whole adventure RPG style, and in much more significantly, just the concept of, I suppose, um, semi-random generations. So there was a lot, I guess, to set me up for my future years, and that leads me to the middle years. This was my edgy teenager years. Not much has changed, honestly, but at least now I'm slightly more, I guess, ready to, see things as edgy, and then I avoid doing it. But back then, I was one of those League kiddies. But to be fair, at the time when I was a League kiddie, because I still play League, at the time when I was playing League, I was 13. Yes, I know League has this reputation of having young kids there, just like CS:GO and other games. But yeah, League of Legends was most of my teenage years in terms of just generally like playing games, I guess. It was what brought me through. I think so in high school. I think it was since year nine I started playing, and I haven't really. I took some breaks on and off, but for a very long time I was really into League, and it got so bad at some point that I actually started running a website about League. It's the League of Legends wiki. You can still kind of see me there, but I don't go anymore because I'm too lazy. But uh, that was actually a really interesting experience. I know it sounds like it's really weird and off topic because roguelikes don't really connect to League that much, but it was from there that I really started to figure out that I really enjoyed taking an administrative um, leadership roles in a gaming community. I actually think that like it was really interesting to talk to people on a day-to-day basis, to give my opinions, and to talk to a community that was really quite at the time fairly small, fairly niche, and in the same vein, like I really enjoyed teaching new players, teaching people how to work on the wiki and other things. At the time, I wasn't really telling people how to play, but I was telling people more how to do like certain management functions like edit and delete and just how to follow the rules and stuff. Um, but yeah, I got pretty seriously into it, and uh, yeah, things at some point changed, and I I felt that like I don't know that really formed, I guess, the base for how the channel is today and how I am, I suppose. The league drove me to be competitive, and running the site drove me to be someone who wants to stand at the top, but also someone who wants to impart their knowledge onto others. It was a I know they say it's an edgy couple of years, but they were really formative for me at least. For better or for worse, they're a part of me now. So League is still a big part of my life at some points. I am more on and off with it now, but I've recently just started getting back into it because honestly, it's one of the few times where I get to, sit and think about things that aren't real life or like study, and like, it just it lets me talk to my friends. It lets me do stuff. So, yeah, it's the same thing with like Dota and stuff. You kind of play the ladder and you try to grind and you just kind of enjoy the grind. It's like playing an MMO, but you don't really. It's not quite the same. I don't know. It's hard to say. But League dominated my middle years essentially. That's the point that I want to make. And now on to roguelikes. So this is like a precursor thing, but the first roguelike kind of game that I ever played was Delver back in the day. So that's in the bottom left hand corner. You can see it right there. Delver was like a Minecrafty kind of adventure dungeon crawly style of game, and at the time that we were playing, it was really limited. Oh, and by the way, before you call me out on calling it, Delver's not a roguelike. I don't care. Like it was the first roguelike I played. I don't give a shit. Like it's a great game. It was so much fun. It was really basic though. That was what excited me. It was so evocative of those childhood memories that I'd had of like imagining dungeon crawl stone soup. Sorry, Dungeons and Dragons. Not. I don't know why my brain auto completed that, but yeah, like it just kind of evoked that style of dungeon crawling that I've never seen before. Like I was as a young child, I was very imaginative, very willing to commit myself to being in fantasy lands, creating situations for myself, and reading books just was the jam. I guess I don't know. It was really easy for me to imagine things, and really easy for me to get lost in my own imagination. And Delver was actually the first time that I'd ever seen a game that so closely captured what I was looking for. It was so incredible because it was Dungeons and Dragons. It was the simplest way I could put it is it was the Dungeons and Dragons that I was looking for. And that really did spur me on. It was me and it was Mega Slime. So I'm gonna call Mega Slime Daniel from now on because that's his name. But yeah, me and I think for the next couple of parts, it's gonna be really important that I talk about Daniel. And this might get a bit sappy because I haven't talked to him in a while, and like I don't know, maybe he'll. I hope that he never watches this video, so he won't understand exactly what this means. But yeah, so let's talk about Daniel for a bit. So me and Daniel were actually not close in like the early years of high school. We went to the same high school, if you weren't aware. Um, uh, you might know Daniel from or Mega Slime from the tournament videos or some earlier discussion videos, but yeah, he doesn't play Crawl as much now, but we still get in contact. But Mega Slime or Daniel, we used to be not actually that tight until we actually joined a club together, just a random one. Like I think it was sailing or something, like just some like random thing. Um, no, it was definitely sailing. Uh, and we actually met through League, but we didn't talk too much, I guess. Which was interesting. Like it was actually really weird to think back and say, wow, I never really talked to Daniel in the first 2 3 years of my high school experience. That's pretty crazy. Like, because I talked to him every day after that, pretty much. It's pretty crazy. But yeah, yeah, we met playing League or talking about League. We joined the club, and over time we started talking more. But the thing that really drew us together, I think, and this is really important, is Delver. It was actually him who introduced me to Delver, and it was through that we started growing as like roguelike players, I guess. Like there was always that challenge. Both he and I were trying to get to the bottom of the floor and win. It's essentially like Crawl, I guess, where you go down to the bottom and then you grab an orb, and I think you try to leave. It was a very long time ago. It was a very basic game. I think it's changed now, but I still would want to play. I guess I might actually even show it off if I have the time. Uh, but yeah, it was there that me and Daniel really started, like I guess, being great friends. We talked about like strategies. We talked about like cool runs that we'd done. We talked about the randomness, the awesomeness of the game, how sick these things looked. Like it was actually awesome. We had because this was the time when the government, for some god awful reason, thought that giving laptops to school kids was a good idea. Yeah, great job, New South Wales government and Australian government in general. Well done, you guys. I think it was it the Howard government? It was either the Howard or the Gillard government. No, probably was the Gillard government. But anyway, it's not the point. The point is, me and him would sit in like every single class that we had together and just play Delver. It was freaking hilarious. Think back, we would play like 3 4 hours at a time, talk about Delver in the lunchtime. uh, and just like generally just play. Like it was intoxicating to play at such a random time. And I don't know, that was really great. But obviously Delver is not that deep of a game. We still played it ridiculously hard for how shallow the game was, but we eventually found something else. And that leads me to Crawl. So this is, remember this. Okay, so picture this. Me and Daniel are sitting there in class one day, and a fellow by the name of Riley, a young lad with a British accent, um, very posh accent actually. Uh, we spied upon his shoulder a game that we'd never seen before, and I saw it. And at first, I wasn't interested. At first, I legitimately said, "Ah, Riley's playing one of those regular weird games like he always does." But this time, it wasn't a flash game. This time, it was something else. And I thought to myself, that game looks kind of. Wait, what is that game? So I talked to Riley, and he said, well, it's Dungeon Crawl Stone Soup. This was version 0.10, I believe. I think it was 0.10, yeah. And I looked at it, and from the moment I saw it, I was intoxicated. I was absolutely gobsmacked by how ridiculous this game was. I remember seeing it for the first time. He was playing a Minotaur or something with rogues for some reason because he's Riley. I don't know. And I saw it and I said, "Are you playing Dungeons and Dragons?" And he just looked up at me and he was like, "Pretty much." And then that's when I was like, "You need to give me this game right now. I need it in my life." And and so he gave it to me. And the funny thing is, I almost actually quit. Um, I almost actually gave up on the game when I first started. I played the tutorial through that thing where you're playing like a human or something, and I was reading all this stuff and I forgot absolutely everything. It was so stupid. It was the tutorial in this game was so bad that I almost just stopped playing just because I could not be bothered getting through that tutorial. It was like 45 minutes of just text scrolling and no combat or interesting things happening. I think that like out of all the things that Crawl has, the offline version really needs a better tutorial. The hints mode is a far more practical use of the game, of the way to teach you how to play. So like, I don't know. It just feels like the tutorial wasn't that good, but I stuck with it. I stuck with it because I had this really weird feeling. I don't know, this feeling that the game was gonna be something different. I know it sounds like really cheesy, but that's actually how I felt at the time. It was really odd. I saw the game and I was like, this game looks really freaking interesting, really interesting. Um, So I slogged. I absolutely slogged. I remember that Riley's high score at the time was 1785 with a Minotaur fighter. I think he died to like a centaur or something. It was weird. Like it was like a D7 death. I think it was pretty like early on. But at the time, it was so I had so much like I guess drive to try to beat that high score. It was crazy. Thinking back, like 1700 score, like really, I can beat that in like 5 minutes now. But back then, it was a challenge. It was an insurmountable challenge, and I've showed this in the screenshot. But this is like what the game looked like before. It basically looks very similar, but you can note that like stuff like the wands look a bit different, and the dagger is dwarven, so like it's an older version, and there's like rotting and nauseating chunks, which are like hilarious to me now. But yeah, it was so much work. I think I didn't get to I didn't get to Lair until almost a month after playing. It was absolutely ridiculous. So there's me. Didn't know that there was any internet stuff. Didn't know anything about the game. I was just smashing my head constantly against the thing, learning, 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 learning. I didn't even know that spears had reach. Like, this is the kind of stuff that you wouldn't know. And for the first time in my life, I was completely devoted to something that was not League. Um, at the time, okay, so at the time, I had a friend called Michael, and Michael was actually the one who started playing Crawl with me. He was also interested in the game. Daniel, surprisingly, was not the one who picked it up first. I think he was just kind of done with games for a little while, but I'll get to that later. Yeah, so me and Michael, the first time we started playing, we were so new to the game, and it was incredible. It was a ridiculously amazing experience. I can't explain how much joy I felt learning new things about the game. There's one particular moment I remember in my life that was really like sticks with me to this day. It was I think it was recess or something, like, it's high school. They had that. It was raining, and me and Michael stood under a crowded, wet kind of area, just under a roof somewhere, and we started talking. And I still remember both of us talking about the races, and him saying, "Haven't tried that Tengu. Looks pretty good." And I said, "Yeah, I want to try that Mummy." Well, the demise of today cringes even now, but that was like a really crazy thought coming back. It's like I didn't know what a mummy or a tengu was. I had actually no idea what they were. I legitimately had no clue. Like, there was like discussing the learning process would take me years. It took so much time. I was playing like by the time it was a weekend, I was playing about like 4 or 5 hours a day minimum, at the minimum. Like, and I was not making it anywhere. Like, a good run for me was like D6 at best. Um, but yeah, I even went to the point of naming all my characters as a number that increased by one every time I died. I think I got up to 273 before I even started thinking about, before I even did anything. Like, it was actually that bad. I was picking classes and races and just doing it randomly and dying on D1 every single time. I would never learn anything. And then I finally beat and then I challenged Michael to a challenge, and this is actually where the challenge is. This is Michael's game. We said, okay, let's get as far down as we can, and see who can get to D10 first. Simple challenge, right? No, it actually took us like almost 2 days of playing, and this is Michael actually winning. He got down to D11, and at the time, I was actually so impressed by that. It Like I said, it really goes to show how interesting life can become when you look back. It's just this was actually an achievement to us, getting to D11 and dying. And as you can see, paralyzed is a excellent CC. Perfect, perfect. As you can tell, he's paralyzed. Anyway, so time passes. Time passes. I eventually make it to Lair. I die as per the usual, and Mega Slime Daniel, I'm really into it at this point now. I'm forcing him to play. I'm like, Daniel, please play. I really want to talk to you about this game. Remember Delver, bro? Remember Delver? We used to be so good at playing roguelikes. Lol, not really. But like, yeah, we were. I cajoled him. I forced him to play. I just wanted so much to talk to him about Crawl. And at some point he gave in. At some point he legitimately gave in. And he said to me, "Okay, I'm going to play, and I'm going to show you. Oh, sorry, I'm gonna just try it because I trust you as a friend, and I want to talk to you about this." And I was like, "Okay, great, perfect." So a month passes, or 3 weeks pass, sorry, and he comes back to me and says, "Yeah, Brandon, I I've got 2 runes. I'm really far into the game. I've got 2 runes." And I said, "What's a rune?" So you can kind of tell what level I was and what level he was at. His first game of Dungeon Crawl Stone 2 was a 2 rune game. He got to 2 runes in his first game. And this is why I will always state that Daniel is the prodigy of Crawl. I was not the prodigy. I was not the guy who was the best. He was the best. The first game that he played got to 2 runes. And that really triggered my competitive spirit. That really drove me. Like, I doubled my efforts. I put so much into thinking. I'm like, Daniel, you got to 2 runes at like at your first game. My first game, I died instantly, and he had played. I think he was playing a Centaur Hunter, and he was playing Okawara. And at the time, I said, Okawara, I've never actually seen him. Is he shit? I'm pretty sure he's shit. I don't really know what he does. Typical Demise, right? Yeah, no, not today, not anymore. But yeah, that was me. Like that was legitimately me. And until he died on that fateful day where he died to ironically, a mega slime. He died to a titanic slime, dealing 120 damage to him in one hit. I was struggling. I was pushing myself to play as much as I possibly could, and I was trying so hard to deny the fact that he'd achieved what he'd achieved because I was that competitive. I'm just that competitive. I will always try to deny someone else's achievement until I get my own achievement. And that didn't end there. Like I didn't feel jealousy to Daniel. I actually didn't feel jealous. I felt kind of just ticked off that I couldn't do what he was doing. That was me. He played slow and he played careful, and he took like 3 weeks to play that one game, and that spurred me on. So this continued until Daniel's fifth game. His fifth game was a Demon Spawn Berserker, and he got 8 runes. So yeah, his first game was 2 runes. His fifth game was 8 runes. And he won that game. No, wait. Hold the phone. Yes. No. No, 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 no. Sorry, I'm getting the message wrong. No, no, no. I think it was a Demon Spawn. Yeah, he won a Demon Spawn Berserker 8 runes by himself. Um, and that pissed me the fuck off. That really made me start shitting bricks. I had been playing the game for a month and a half before Daniel, and I had gotten nowhere near where he was. Absolutely triggered the shit out of me. This is like real life now. And so I have to thank Daniel for being the guy that brought me to this world. He legitimately kept me going. He just I was getting discouraged, and I was like tired of dying every day. I was getting mad at dying, and he ignited that anger in me. He ignited that burning desire to one up my friends. He showed me the way, I guess, and I will always be thankful to him for that. Yeah, he helped me form who I am today, basically, as both a player and as like just generally speaking, like just a person. He helped me develop that competitive drive that got me to where I was. So his first one was an 8 runer. I hadn't won it this time. His eighth or 10th game was a 15 rune Deep Elf Fire Elementalist, and this was like 2 months after that. Like I'm still like flying in the wind with nothing. I hadn't even touched a rune. Um, and that's when he got that 15 rune, and he showed me the orb run. He showed me the orb run. He showed me a lich formed firestorming caster with a large shield, 27 in all skills. And I sat there and I watched him ascend, and there was just this like feeling of desire, of jealousy, of like inadequacy, I guess. You gotta understand, I take games fairly seriously because I find it to be the thing that consumes me in life. You might say it's edgy, or you might say it's a real nerdy thing, but for me, it's the same as like playing a sport. It's the same as doing anything in life. I wanted to excel. I wanted to be the best. And when he played that 15 rune in front of my eyes, because I asked him to, obviously, I sat there and I said, "Wow, god damn, god damn." How are we doing for time? 30 minutes already. Well, this is going to be a long video, guys, so please stick with me. And so the first time I'd ever gotten a rune had come to pass. It was a Minotaur Gladiator, running running staves. And the first time I got a rune, it was 1 in the morning. I was just playing to see where I could get, and it changed everything for Crawl. It was completely I was sitting there shaking in like playing on my bed. I was sitting there shaking. I was thinking about the. I was so excited that I got my first rune. It was wasn't a snake. I think it was actually shoals first. No, it was swamp. I think it was swamp. Might have been swamp or it was spider. One of the snake. It was snake or swamp. One of the two. Uh, but like I only distinctly remember the swamp, the snake part. But I got in that rune. I stayed up till 4 that morning, getting more runes and more runes. I got to my 5th rune, all 5 of the standard runes. At this point, I had researched extensively. Not extensively. I'd covered my basics. Sorry, I'm doing this tactic where I spin my pen while telling the story because it's giving me something to do. But I went for the glory, guys. I went for the glory. I was like, Daniel got a 15 rune. I'm gonna one up him. I'm gonna get 15 rune as my first win. I fell into that noob trap. I fell into that noob trap hard. And so my 6th rune was the Ice Hell, Cocytus. Yep, that's right, Cocytus. Because I had RC triple plus and RLX, and I was like, there's no way anything can kill me in here. I had switched to the Shining one. I'd scummed Abyss for like 30k turns to just get as much as I could. And then I went for a Cocytus. And you know what happened? Antaeus fucking annihilated me. Yep. Within 3 turns I was dead. And I just felt this absolute sinking feeling. This just god awful, disgusting sense of just absolute hopelessness. I was so pissed. This was like 4:30 in the morning, guys. Like you gotta understand. I had school the next day. It was really bad. And like I just couldn't handle it. I was like, I'm done with this game. Fuck this game. It's over. I'm done. It was bad. And like, if you want context, that's exactly why I say now, don't go for that 15 rune game. Don't go for the glory. Don't do it. It's not worth it. Wait till losing a character doesn't mean anything to you. This was my first character to get a rune. I could have won that game. I could have started with a 5 rune game. Would have been easy. Would have done it. But nope. I had to go for that 15 rune, and that fucked me instantly. Like I was just not prepared for the level of damage that I was gonna get. He killed me like so fast, and that's just how it was. I ended up getting over it, obviously, because Mega Slime Daniel again was really helpful, really supportive. He talked to me about my death, and as you do, you get over it after a while. You keep playing in that hope that, like, one day you'll be able to replicate that. And that day eventually came, maybe about a month later. Minotaur Berserker. I still remember it very clearly, like it was the day I'd won it. I knew what the 3-rune game looked like. I didn't know what Zot looked like, but I knew what the 3-rune game looked like. Broad Axe of Vampiricism, +9, large shield, some plate armor probably, or even Fire Dragon armor. I don't remember. It's actually quite blurry at this point, but that was it. I did it, and I had won, convincingly, obviously, because like it's Minotaur Berserker with a large shield. You're not gonna die. But it was so stressful for me. I was so afraid, and the orb run was the thing that really brought me to a new height of excitement. I was sweating, I was shaking, I was like, the adrenaline rush was there. And I just skipped over like 150 ruined games or something. It was actually really funny. Yeah, I used to play Draconian Monk a lot after watching a YouTube video. I got a couple of runes on it, but I never won. But the Minotaur Berserk was the first one that I'd ever won. And that was the turning point. That was the turning point. Within a month, I won a Hillock Death Knight, which was a Ured guy at the time. 5 rune. 15 rune Deep Elf Fire Elementals, and then a couple of other things. But what's important there was that I'd started my journey. I'd started the journey to play Crawl seriously, and it was really exciting. I got better, obviously, over time, and as I got better, my wins started piling in. It soon came to the point where Daniel's 8 wins suddenly didn't mean that much to me. I remember looking back and going, every single day in class, I would win a game. Almost every day, sorry. It was getting to that point where I was like, oh, every couple of days I'd win at least one game, and I was the joy. Sorry, I was the centerpiece of attention very soon. I will talk more about the crawl community that I fostered in another video, most likely. Just have another story time a bit later. But yeah, I was that guy. I was just that guy that just suddenly started getting pretty good. I was playing really consistently. I played a lot every single day. I never dropped below, I'd say, like 4 hours a day. I'd never dropped below that. My weekends were so consumed by crawl that I was playing it instead of League. I was playing it for like hours on end. It was crazy. It was the passion. It was the burning, burning passion to win. I started. That was where I started reading morgues. I read Elliptic's morgues. I read like Bart's morgues. I read all the good players' morgues. I read Reddit. I read Tavern. I watched YouTube when I could, but YouTube it was alright. But I'll talk about that later. Um, but yeah, it was my time, and slowly I came to the realization that there was this thing called Greater Player, and I said to myself, okay, I'm gonna go for Greater Player. I'm gonna go for it. And the next 6 or so months were a grueling, grueling, grueling task of grinding out game after game of games that I had no idea how to play, like Mummy, Tengu, like even High Elf. Like this stuff was like ridiculously hard for me. You gotta understand that first Greater Player run cannot be underestimated. It is one of the most difficult challenges in all of gaming history. Like the all race all background combo for almost any roguelike is an impressive feat. It's one of the few feat. It's one of the feats that very few people can actually get. But yeah, it was ridiculous. And when I first got that Greater Player, like the thing is, it didn't count because, well, in my mind it still counts because I've got it online somewhere, just not on the actual CAO servers. I've got it all in paste bins, all logged and numbered and ordered. It's actually still being updated today. Uh, but that first Greater Player run was, whew, that was tough. And in the eyes of myself, I guess, I had become Greater Player, even though I wasn't recognized in the eyes of the online play. And this leads me to talk in the 0.14 tournament, which I completely forgot to talk about. So this was the first time I had ever played Crawl online, other than a brief practice run on Demise 101. This was the first time we had ever played Crawl against other players. So you can see in the first ever team that I made, Oz servers please. So let me give you a bit of a history lesson. CAO, so crawlacrasiac.org, was the American servers, and at the time there was no Australian server. So every Australian was playing on the American servers with 900 ping, and you were just like, God damn, this thing is like playing in soup. You can't play, like, you can't even compare the speed in offline play. Like, you can just see it in my games. Look at this. A Minotaur Wizard of Trog took me 5 hours. A Deep Dwarf Earth Elementalist took me 9 hours. Octopo took me 8 hours. That's a ridiculously long time. Especially for someone like me. But at the time, I guess I wasn't that fast. But still. So that's the name. That's the reason behind the name. Oz servers, please. Bob the Cannibal was there, so you guys know him from the tournament videos. Mega Slime, you know him from the tournament videos, and Daniel. And then Sixo, who's Z's friend, and DV, who is a friend of mine. So we all played in the first tournament that we had attended, 0.14. I'll talk more about how I met Z a little bit later. Sorry, a little in another video probably. Just like I said, saving story time and also saving a bit of time here. But yeah, that was the first time I really started to get that sense of, Christ, this game is really fun to run with friends. This game is really fun to talk about while you're playing. I remember sitting at home on this like old white table and just sitting there with my mates, just talking about the game, talking about each other's games, talking about random stuff, like, and just playing. And that was really, really fun for me. That was like legitimately some of the most fun I've ever had, and you can see it in the tournament videos. You can see it still. Like it's still happening today. Obviously there's a completely different like conversation going on because the skill's completely different. But I cannot stress how much fun that was. That was legitimately some of the most fun times in my life playing in this tournament. We didn't do that well. We did all right. I think we got like 25th, which is actually pretty impressive if you think about it. Like it's a bunch of fresh new faces from Australia. And this was like the start. This was just the start of me playing online. I said to myself, shit, I really do enjoy playing like with these guys. I really like talking to these people. Z was there, but we never really talked in voice chat. Yeah, that was pretty cool. Well, there's the first grader player. There was an attempt. Yeah, it was. I talked about it like before because I don't remember what the slide order is. Halfway through talking, I was just like, I'll just talk whatever. But then this brings me to Check Dog or Checkers and CPO. So Checkers, not in response to our clan name, by the way, just on his own. He made crawl.project357.org, and that was the beginning of the online community for Australian crawl. It was the birthplace of players like myself, Z, Ultraviolent. Like we're like probably sitting around the top now of players, and three of us are from Australia. You've also got Purple Red from New Zealand, who's a real speedrunner, turn count, one of the best in fact. So like yeah, there's just Checkers was there, and for the first time ever, we got to play on OCE ping. Like we played almost like it was on, like it was offline. It was freaking ridiculous how good we could play. Suddenly, I was just playing online constantly. I was like, I'm gonna go for greater player. I'm gonna go for greater player on my Demise account. And you know what? I did. And this brings me to, uh, I guess how the channel started. I suppose I said to myself, I'm gonna play Dungeon Crawl Stone Soup on YouTube. I actually said to Daniel, I'm gonna do it when I hit my second greater player online. Because at the time I was really worried about people not liking my content because I didn't have the credentials. You got to understand, in my eyes, the crawl community was just a bunch of faceless people, and I was a nobody in that sea of faceless people. I had no standing, I had no skill. What was I supposed to do? I didn't want people to think that I was bad, you know? I didn't want people to think, oh, this Demise guy, he's a fun Let's Player, but he doesn't play for skill. That's not what I wanted. I wanted people to take me seriously and learn from me and not be ridiculed by the top players. I really didn't want that. That's why I waited for my second grader player on CPO until I started the channel. But the reason why I suppose I made the channel is because I saw this massive gap in YouTube, just in general of crawl. Like I know almost all my competitors. I know Bounty Hunter Sax. I know Soupy Dribbles. I know like literally everyone. I know Quill 18. Like I know everyone who's played crawl. I check constantly. I'll admit it. That's fine. I take a very big inventory stock on my competitors and I see what they do. And there's just no room. There was just no space there for someone who was high level to play. I guess Tassinir had done a couple of runs, but they weren't really consistent. And like there was just massive droughts in the crawl community, I guess, for YouTube. Like it was just not a respectable platform. No one of serious, legitimate skill had gone on and said, I'm gonna be a guy who plays crawl on YouTube. There was just no one. And I thought that I wasn't sure if I was ready for it. And you can really feel that hesitation in my first like 10 videos. You really see that I'm legitimately afraid of any backlash, any kind of, oh, you're a shit player, just don't do this. Oh, you don't know what's going on. I had no idea. I had legitimately no idea. And again, Daniel was the saving grace. He was the guy that said to me, "Look, Brandon, you're a greater player. You can just do you, mate. You just do you. Like you can make the channel. I think it would be great. I want to see this channel. I want to watch your videos. I want to see how you talk when you're not like talking to me. And I said, fine, I'll do it when I get greater player. And that about leads us to where we are today. I'm going to talk about the history of the channel, probably when we have a bit of a longer history. Right now, I guess it's only a year in, but you know, it's pretty cool. I know this is supposed to be the anniversary of Crawl, but I need to do it today because I don't want to start a new series. Yeah, I don't know why I mentioned that like now. Oh well, that's fine. But yeah, like I really did want to start imparting my knowledge, and it was really fun. I gotta say, making the channel is I've never regretted it. You know, it's been great talking to everyone. It's been great playing. It's good stuff. It's good stuff. But yeah, there's a couple other things. You can see StarCraft 2, Street Fighter. Those again important for fueling my competitive nature. But I think at this point I've talked myself to death. The 0.17 tournament was something that we played in. We made a glorious return to the game after like a year and a half of not playing in the tournaments. And I did significantly better this time, and it was crazy because I got into the top 8, and it was ridiculous. And it was me, Bobby Boy, Mega Slime, and Ultra Violent, and we had a lot of fun. Like I said, it was a great amount of fun. Ultra I hadn't talked to at the time. You know, something that's kind of interesting is the fact that you know that tournament video, the tournament videos that I did with him. Those videos were the first times I'd ever talked to Ultraviolent before. Legitimately, those were the first times I had ever spoken to him. I know it sounds like we were buddy buddy. Like Z actually said, "Oh, you know each other in real life, right?" I had no idea who he was. I legitimately just started talking to him. So a lot of people were like, Demise, you talk a bit weird to Ultra. What's wrong? What's all these in jokes? No, I actually had no idea who he was. But yeah, that was a real fun experience for us. I don't think the 0.17 tournament I actually recorded. I think this one was just me. I'm not sure. Yeah, I think this was actually not me. Wait, hang on. Was it? Cobalt Berserker. Oh no, it was. Okay, okay. We did actually record in this one. So yeah. No, this was the next one. Sorry, was the one that we started recording. This 0.19 one. That's actually when we started playing together. That's really funny. But oh wait, yeah, it was. Yeah. So that's really funny now that I think about it. But yeah, so that's where I am today. I probably did miss a couple of things, but I'll probably fill them in one day. I didn't get emotional. It's good. I guess I'm not. I'm sorry, guys. I'm just not that great of a storyteller, but that's me. That's Demise. I'm a rambly guy. I just do what I want, and I talk. I can just talk for hours. But yeah, this is like I don't know. I think out of all the people in my life that have shaped me, like you'd be surprised, but I'd still say Daniel is like one of the people that really pushed me to these like areas. I never really like acknowledge that, but that's just how it is. Like he's just that person that he pushed me into roguelikes, he pushed me into crawl, and he made me into the player I was. Otherwise, I would have quit a long time ago. So thanks, Daniel. Appreciate it. Good shout out to you. But yeah, I'll talk more about the channel probably in another video. But this is just like a recollection of my thoughts, I suppose. I probably, yeah, like I said, I probably did miss something, but I'll tell it later. So that's me. Thanks for watching, and yeah, leave a like, leave a comment, do what you want. You're all good. Thanks for sticking with me, obviously, for this whole time. I know some of you guys have been around since like day one. It's pretty ridiculous. Um, yeah, just like thanks to everyone who's given me support this whole year. Here's to another year, I guess. I don't know. I'm not good with the sappy stuff. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you all tomorrow.